Well, I had a really boring speech prepared and memorized, and I think I'll spare us all that. The reason I'm not going to give the speech is, as I came up here today to this event, I was stunned by all of the memories that I had, the memories that go back so far. I met people here today who were my informants when I was trying to understand your story, not just informants here in the American West, people that I interviewed, people that were so generous with their time and their information, but I even ran into someone that I interviewed in Australia. So as I look around, I see so many colleagues, so many dear colleagues. I see people who came to the center when it was so tiny and volunteered their time, stuffed envelopes so that we could send out our newsletter, people who opened their hearts and their wallets to the center when we really needed their support. Joe Crowley, of course. I mean, if I started going around and naming everyone, we'd be here for a long, long time. But Joe Crowley was, I can't say enough about the support that Joe gave us over the years. This building, which was a dream. I'm sure Joe doubted when he first heard about it, as I did when I first heard about it more than 10 years ago, that it would ever become a reality. But there's a way in which, when I first came here in 1967 to become the first coordinator of what was called the Basque Studies Center then, I was kind of given an assignment to sell a dream, to go around the American West and to meet with all of you and say, you know, we can do something in Reno. But I guess in my heart of hearts, I always had a little bit of doubt whether it was possible. I mean, I didn't know whether I was selling the impossible dream. But what I would certainly say is this. It wasn't just my dream, it became everyone's dream, and everyone that's here today's dream. And this center that we have before us is not the work of any one person or any 10 or 20 or 30 people. It's the work of hundreds and hundreds of people over the last 40 years. I would also like to say that I think it's hugely appropriate that we're inaugurating this facility at the same time that we're celebrating the 50th anniversary. The 50th anniversary of the first National Basque Festival, because the idea of starting this program actually began 2 years after that festival, and in part is a direct result of that festival. Robert Laxalt was approached by Wendell Morty, who was the first director, president, or whatever, the founder of the Desert Research Institute, and Wendell approached Robert with the idea of starting a Basque Studies program as purely a research effort at the Desert Research Institute. And Bob bought on, and actually the rest is history. It took a long time actually for them to launch the program, but by 1967, or 42 years ago, the program was up and running. And I would say this, because Eric had asked me, well, can you give a history of all of the places that the program has been housed over the years? And that was going to be my boring speech, because it's bumped around and different aspects of it were housed in different parts of the university. But we began out at Stead, and the first couple of years, the Basque program consisted of a little cubicle that was my office and my messy desk. And I can also say that for most of that period, in fact, until this magnificent facility was created, space was always at a premium. We always had a problem because we were developing one of the finest library collections in the world, and there simply wasn't enough space to house it within the existing university library. So some of our books were in boxes out at Stead in storage. It was always a problem from that standpoint. And then we launched, I can't remember exactly in what year, but we launched the USAC, or University Studies Abroad Consortium, out of out of the Basque Studies program, and that program had to be housed. And initially it was just Carmelo Ursa, but that has grown into one of the largest, if not the largest, study abroad consortia in the United States. And so, I mean, Carmelo eventually, of course, had to move, and we're not physically together any longer. But space, it always felt kind of like a rabbit warren, and we never had enough space. So I'm here to tell you today that I've come full cycle. I now have a little cubicle with a very messy desk, but it's no longer the Center for Basque Studies. In fact, it is probably the most insignificant little cubicle in that center at this point. But I hope you'll all go in and take a look at this magnificent, magnificent facility, and I hope that you will join me in thanking the people who had the vision and the dream and the persistence to make this a reality today. Thank you all for coming. All of you are very special to me. Thank you.